making peace with fear, stimulated by a comment that I received in regards to fear of failure and fear of rejection. Now, I've mentioned this many times. I see fear as an opportunity to befriend aspects within myself. What within me have I not made peace with that seems to create what we would call a fear-based experience in regards to the different aspects of the journey when it comes to realizing our goals, our visions, our definite chief aims. Now, Joseph Campbell said it really well in this quote here. He said, "It is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure." So we could say certain thinking patterns in regards to certain experiences in life seem to cause us to stumble, or we could say fear. This is all within ourselves, and we have an opportunity each day to identify these thinking patterns or beliefs and do the subconscious mind work so we can make peace with these thinking patterns, so we can experience a more flow-based journey to the destination, and also, as a result of it, enjoy the actual journey of committing to a vision or goal that we could say challenges us, committing to the goal and the vision and actually experiencing the bliss of the journey of making peace with these aspects. So when I set a goal, a vision, or a definite chief aim, I personally like to have some degree, maybe even a high degree, of opportunity in that goal, in that vision, in that definite chief aim, for revealing thinking patterns within myself in regards to fear. In other words, I enjoy doing the things that I fear. And one of my realizations of why this is so powerful comes from an experience that I had in 2010. One of my friends had visited from the UK, and he wanted to actually stay for a year. And I mentioned to him that I was getting these gigs from Craigslist, and these gigs were leading over to back-end deals or ongoing client relationships for my IT business. Companies would bring me in to provide a service. Could be something like removing a virus off a computer or fixing a small wireless network issue. And as a result of that initial service, I would be able to offer them additional products or services. And so I was getting clients, ongoing business deals from Craigslist as a result of these gigs that were available. Now, he did it. He ended up taking on one of these gigs, teaching speed reading for a company named Iris Reading. Now, many of you know, if you've been watching my stuff for a while, that I have a great relationship with Paul and Iris Reading, Paul being the founder of Iris Reading, which actually started in 2010 as a result of this connection. So when he mentioned to me that he was teaching these workshops, I saw an opportunity to reveal fear-based aspects within myself by also committing to teaching those workshops. So even though I was focusing on building an IT business, I saw that if I could teach these workshops, which in Toronto they were held at the Marriott beside the Eaton Centre, on Saturdays and Sundays, I would actually have an opportunity to develop my public speaking skills, and more specifically put, in relation to fear, an opportunity to reveal these thinking patterns, work with the power of the subconscious mind, the things that I was working with for years in relation to Joseph Murphy's book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, and actually overcome, we could say, certain thinking patterns, belief systems, ideologies in relation to fear when it comes to public speaking. In other words, I had the opportunity to do it. So I committed to it. He connected me with Iris Reading. I ended up teaching these workshops, and I noticed that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the anxiety would build up when it comes to teaching these workshops on Saturday and Sunday. And I would notice certain thinking patterns in regards to how I would perceive the audience in terms of rejection and failure being brought to the surface. And I would ask myself the question in relation to these thinking patterns, is this really true? Do people really reject me? Is it that people don't accept me? Or is it that I am not accepting myself in regards to certain aspects based on what I teach, how I teach, etc. Now, keep into consideration, 2005, I discovered speed reading and what we would consider learning and teaching models, which, by the way, I did a discussion on this. I'll put a link in the description to it, learning and teaching. And I got really fascinated by it because it helped me. As a matter of fact, this is when I was also introduced to mind mapping, which is what I build these videos on. Now, the thing about it is I realized that I do have the expertise. I have the reference experience. I know how to do this. So why is it that I was having fears in regards to expressing or teaching this information publicly? I realized there was certain thinking patterns when it comes to what I would call rejection or failure. And we realize now, as we've been having these discussions, what is the meaning of rejection and failure rather than reflection opportunity? So we can see how we can optimize and adjust our communication style, what we do, etc. This excessive meaning, like I'm not good enough and people won't accept me, these are thinking patterns in relation to fear that we can make peace with. So I would identify these thinking patterns. I would make peace with these thinking patterns by doing the subconscious mind work, and watch the almost 2-hour discussion I did on the power of the subconscious mind by Joseph Murphy. I'll put a link in the description to that video. And what happened was I noticed that it was easier each week to do these events. Eventually got to a point where I would commit to doing them on a Saturday or Sunday. I would show up and I would do them. No fear, no anxiety, actually a genuine excitement. In other words, it seems that fear and excitement were mixing together in this interesting way, which was stimulating the vision or the desire to want to do this. And then I actually ended up doing it. And through the journey, I made peace with certain thinking patterns in relation to the experiences with regards to fear. Thus, I understand then how fear is an opportunity to befriend these aspects within myself. And so by actually going through the process, which we'll discuss in this video here, in relation to The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, I was able to make peace with certain aspects in regards to the 6 basic fears, which Napoleon Hill brought up in Think and Grow Rich. So let's discuss these. We got fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, fear of ill health, fear of death, which may play itself out in the following thinking patterns or beliefs. Shameful when buying something you really want, condemning others for their prosperity, overthinking about money, shameful when doing what you really want to do, condemning others for doing what they really want to do, overly criticizing ourselves and others, feeling shameful when experiencing the kind of relationships you really want, condemning others for their relationships, overthinking about losing love from another, feeling shameful about age, comparing with others in relation to age, overthinking about age, not doing what you really want to do, comparing with others in relation to health, overthinking about ill health, not doing what you really want to do is a common pattern we see. And so what I found within myself is this disconnect of not doing what I really want to do in a flow-based way was actually an opportunity to reveal the thinking patterns of why is it that I'm having a hard time doing what I really want to do, experiencing unnecessary anxiety, overthinking, etc., on the days leading up to those events. Now, fast forward many years later, we ended up doing so many events and partnerships together as a result of the relationship that I built with Paul and Iris Reading. As a matter of fact, in 2018, I did 16 flights in 30 days, and I taught these workshops all over the US and Canada in partnership. And I had so much fun doing it. And so now let's go on a journey together in relation to Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey. And there are many different experiences, and there are many different interpretations, and there are many different ways of working with the hero's journey. I want to reflect with you in relation to my experience, but I would like this to be relatable for you. And I would definitely suggest studying the hero's journey and actually looking at different interpretations and ways the hero's journey has applied to others. And I found that the hero's journey, or this process, helps me at a conceptual level understand my day-to-day experience in regards to the 6 basic fears or any kind of thinking patterns in relation to fear. So I could do the following. Number 1, identify what those thinking patterns are. Write them down. Note them down. I like to take notes on my phone. You could write them out in your journal. Identify these thinking patterns. And then ask yourself, are these thinking patterns really true? Is this how I really want to live? Do I really want to, for example, be shameful when I buy something that I really want to buy? Do I really want to shame others or condemn others for what they really want to do? Is this how I really want to live? Or are these just thinking patterns that are being brought to the surface? And so what I find is I enjoy committing to definite chief aims, visions, and goals. And I find it to be very inspiring when I connect with others who also have definite chief aims, visions, and goals that actually bring to the surface fears that are buried within the subconscious, or more accurately put, thinking patterns in relation to fear, which is experienced as what we would call fear-based energy. So we can make peace with these thinking patterns so we could live the life that we truly want to live. In alchemy, this is referred to as the great work. Watch the few videos that I've done on the spiritual alchemy process, which I'll put a link in the description to those videos. So let's talk about this in relation to the hero's journey. So the story begins, so the hero's journey of Joseph Campbell begins as the ordinary world. A person's living their life, they're going about their day-to-day journey. And then number 2, they get a call to adventure. A challenge or quest is proposed. Maybe something someone suggests, or perhaps some insight. I find it's intuition for me. When he mentioned that he was teaching these workshops and he no longer wanted to do them anymore, something inside of me said, commit to doing them. It's going to help you get to your destination. Now, I remember thinking to myself at that moment, when I had that intuitive inspiration, that what if this and what if that? That might be too overwhelming, that's too challenging, but yet there was something exciting about that particular experience. I wanted to experience it. And so there was this fusion between fear and excitement, woven together. And as I realized upon reflection that when I had certain situations in my life that had that mixture of fear and excitement, when I committed to whatever it was, I not only realized the vision or the goal, I also revealed these aspects within myself, which allowed me to make peace with certain thinking patterns in regards to fear and rejection, which had helped me tremendously on the journey. So I saw it as another opportunity. So then, number 3, there was maybe a refusal of the call. The hero may reject this call because of fear-based beliefs. So fear-based beliefs were being brought to the surface. And I could have identified with those fear-based beliefs. But I realized in my past that there were times where I had identified with those fear-based beliefs, and I did not end up doing the thing that I really want to do. Now, this has been our experience. No need to shame or condemn ourselves. Simply understand this pattern and recognize that the cave we fear to enter can hold the treasure that we seek. And also stated here by Joseph Campbell, it is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. So I realized then it was time to commit to it because there lies my treasure. I really wanted to live that way, where I would do what I want to do. And I would not allow fear, doubt, indecision, thinking patterns within myself within, holding myself back from experiencing what I really wanted to experience. Then we get this meeting with the mentor. And by the way, I found that it doesn't necessarily have to play out this way, this hero's journey. I found that within myself, it played out this way in many stories. And I find that there's relatability when we look at this particular model here. You'll find this hero's journey format expressed in movies and many different journeys that we've already gone through. And we share a similarity. We share a deep connection, a relationship. where we pretty much go through the same things. We just experience it differently. Number 4, meeting the mentor. The mentor helps the hero gain confidence, gives insight or advice to overcome fears. And for me at that particular time, my mentor was Paul. I called him up and I said, listen, I'm interested in teaching these workshops, but what about this? What about that in relation to fear, in relation to doubt, in relation to indecision? And because of his reference experience, because he was teaching them for a while, he would be able to say things to me in a way where I would just be at ease. And I would write these things down, whatever it is that he would say to me, because I noticed that as I was going through what I was going through, the fear and the anxiety, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the thinking patterns that were brought to the surface as a result of committing to the journey, those statements that he gave to me became my autosuggestions. I would say them to myself. And he would have these different perspectives. For example, one of the perspectives that he would say to me is, you already know what you're talking about. You learned speed reading back in 2005. This particular format here is our format. And all you have to do is follow the guide, the teaching guide, and allow your own style and your own experience to express. Now, this made a lot of sense to me because I said, wait a second, I've got the reference experience. I know what I'm talking about. And he's got a format, which if I ever found myself being confused, I just follow the format. And what is it that I'm fearing then? And the fears would just disappear. Number 5, crossing the threshold. This signifies that the hero has committed to the journey. So I've committed. Number 6, test allies and enemies. Learns how aspects within express inner and outer relationships. So for me, the enemies were thinking patterns that were being brought to the surface, beliefs, interpretations that I had the opportunity to make peace with in my own mind. And as I had made peace with them in my own mind, I didn't see them express. The enemies. These enemies were in mind, their thinking patterns, their beliefs. And if for whatever the reason, I did not understand these unconscious, that which I say I am too unconsciously within myself, they would reveal themselves as the outer aspects of life. There's certain experiences that I would have with the audience in which I would think it was them criticizing me in a way that was putting me down as a result of the feedback that I was getting, as a result of their body language, etc. What I had an opportunity to do here in this phase of the hero's journey was to actually pause and say, it's my thinking patterns in relation to them. It's my beliefs in relation to them. And I can assure you, as I would change my beliefs, my interpretations, my perspectives, my paradigm in relation to them, in relation to the experiences, they would change. The entire experience of teaching these workshops would change. It would change so much over the years that it became so easy to just commit to the workshop and do it. And so for me, it was a journey. And this is another reason why I encourage entrepreneurship, because in entrepreneurship, we have many different theatrical experiences of how the belief systems, thinking patterns that we don't consciously know we are identifying with are brought to the surface in how we relate to our teams, and how we relate to our clients, and how we relate to the different vendors and the different aspects of the journey: sales, marketing, leadership, communication, innovation. These are all opportunities, if a person feels compelled to commit to a journey of entrepreneurship, that if they have not made peace with these thinking patterns within themselves, and they're brought to the surface, they don't need to shame or condemn themselves. They apply the subconscious mind work. Again, watch that video that I did. They can make peace with those thinking patterns, and the entire experience, the reality changes to reflect the thinking patterns, the beliefs that are actually true to how they really are. This is the beautiful thing about this journey. I realized that on this journey, I was revealing who I really am. I was expressing more so every day who I truly am. And so fear provides us that opportunity by taking these notes down and asking ourselves, are these thinking patterns really true? Do we really want to experience, let's go back to the 6 basic fears here, overthinking in regards to money, condemning others for their prosperity, shameful when buying something you really want? In regards to communication or public speaking, do we want to feel shameful doing those things? Personally, I don't want to feel shameful doing those things. I want to do those things. And I even would find these patterns, thinking patterns that I had learned that were not true within myself, playing out as the theatrical experiences on the journey. And I would say, this is not how I want to live. I mean, really, truly. I want to commit to what I truly love. I want to live how I truly love. So I took the opportunity and I found it within myself, these different aspects, as he refers to as the enemies in number 6. And I would make peace with them. And then I would have a higher degree of harmonious relationship between my inner and outer aspects of my life. Number 7, approach to the inmost cave. So in recap, a person goes from ordinary world, receives the call to adventure. Perhaps they might refuse the call or have a lot of fear, doubt, indecision. They end up meeting a mentor. It could be an inward mentor. I have found through my own inner dialogues, by traveling into the infinite world of imagination, that I would meet these inward mentors and they would guide me. And perhaps some thinking patterns are brought to the surface in regards to test enemies as well as allies. These are aspects that show up as people who encourage us. Our masterminds, our team, our friends, they encourage us to continue down this journey, to do what we really want to do, live how we truly want to live. And then, as we've also discussed throughout our videos, plans are received within. Hunches and inspirations are received as a result of the plan to move forward, which then the person does the ordeal. And by the way, I find that this journey symbolically replays itself and helps me understand my journey in a way that I can make peace with the different attributes for the different goals, visions, and definite chief aims that I continuously commit to, which can stimulate fear, which to me, I don't have a problem with fear. I don't like to run away from fear. I like to reveal the opportunity to make peace with these fears within myself. I don't go around doing it all the time. However, I take the opportunity to do it in relation to my goals, my visions, my definite chief aim. There's a genuine desire and a vision that's stimulated. And sometimes when that vision is stimulated, fears, doubts, and indecision are brought to the surface. And I commit to it because I know, upon reference experience of doing these things over and over and over again in my life, there's a great reward. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So as a person approaches the inmost cave, they find these thinking patterns, and they have the opportunity to do the subconscious mind work and go through the reference experiences. For me, it was committing to and doing these workshops and staying committed to it, as well as identifying the thinking patterns in relation to each of the workshops and continuously making peace with these thinking patterns in relation to the fears, fear of failure, fear of rejection, to further realize that this is all optimization data, that the reference experience were providing me optimization data. And there are so many thinking patterns, different ways, infinite intelligence on how to see things accurately. This is part of building the inward relationship. See, what I recognized on my journey is that in the earlier stages, I would look around to see how others were behaving, what they were doing, how they were living. I was essentially looking for approval of how to live in the 5 sensory experience before I decided to be how I really wanted to be, or you could say, give myself permission for living how I really want to live. And I realized that that's not the way I want to live. I want to go into my imagination and commit to what I truly desire. I want my 6th sense to be expressing on the 5 sensory experience. I want to live from my inner outer. I want to creatively express. I want to do what I really want to do. I want to live how I really love. And I want to find more of these opportunities to really live. And so perhaps an ordeal or a big challenge, which I see as an opportunity, shows up, in which a person is revealing certain patterns of the same challenge that a person has now made peace with. Maybe it was a traumatic situation or a big challenge that they identified with at an earlier stage of the journey, in which it seems to play out in all kinds of ways in regards to not accepting themselves when they express artistically in dance, in innovation, in public speaking, etc. For example, I experienced events of significant shame when I was a child in relation to expressing myself, in relation to communicating and expressing how I really want to be. I had the opportunities to actually find that experience within myself and how I was replaying it as theater on the journey. And this opportunity to commit to these workshops and teach them allowed me to discover it and make peace with it. Then after that, we experienced the reward. The hero has overcome one of their deepest fears, their deepest challenges. They have made peace with that thinking pattern. They understand to a deeper degree how fear is an opportunity to befriend the aspects within ourselves, or the aspect within ourselves that we've been burying and pretending like it doesn't exist within ourselves. It's brought to the surface. We make peace with it. And so the person experiences the reward, both inner and outer, the outer being a reflection of the inner. For me, it's anytime I want to commit to something in relation to public speaking, I do it. I have fun doing it. I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. And that's a reflection of the inward reward of the peace that I had made in regards to a deep belief that was formed as a result of my own interpretations in regards to an experience that I had when I was a child. I had the opportunity to make peace with it. That's the reward. And the outer reflected it and continues to reflect it each day as a reward of that inward reconciliation. Number 10. This stage is comprised of the hero recommitting and completing the journey and accepting the road back to the ordinary world. So we go back. And perhaps then they experience the resurrection. And I remember when it happened for me. And as mentioned, it doesn't mean that a person would go through all these things. I found this hero's journey to be very symbolic of this particular experience in regards to teaching these events. The resurrection for me was when I taught this workshop in a university in Toronto. So when I felt that I could teach these workshops publicly and it was completely flow-based, Paul had presented me the opportunity to do it at a university for over 100 people. And I saw another challenge being brought to the surface. Because for me, I never completed university. I did some university courses on the side while I was working in corporate. The company was paying for it. But I decided not to move forward with the business degree. And so there was a part of me that didn't feel worthy. We could call it imposter syndrome, to be able to teach this workshop to university students. And I had to remember what Paul had mentioned to me in the beginning, that what they're asking for is how to speed read, how to mind map, how to learn in a way that when a person commits to what they truly want to learn, they could learn it effectively. They could learn it faster. They could exponentially increase their comprehension and retention by working with this learning style. I already did it. And although I didn't apply it to completing my university program, I did apply it to create the business success. And I could teach it to them in a way that would apply for whatever it is that they were learning. Because I know that when I did apply it to the few university credits that I did get, the information worked effectively. So at that moment, I had the opportunity to, as sometimes we say, surrender to the vision, realize, and completely let go of that thinking pattern in the moment. And upon reflection, I realized it was one of my best workshops. And I had many students come up to me afterwards thanking me for teaching it to them. They were very happy. They learned a lot of things. And then even years later, I still receive every now and then an email from somebody that took the workshop, be it the private workshop, and I ended up doing a bunch of them for different schools in Canada and the US. People thanking me of how that information had helped them finish their programs, and also apply it to their careers and their businesses and so forth. So we then see after the resurrection, the return with the elixir. And the part that I like about this, or how I relate to it, is the service to others, sharing through the experiential learning. When we go through a journey like this, when we commit to a vision, a goal, a definite chief aim, and actually go through our own experience of discovering these beliefs that are not true to how we really are within ourselves, that we've been identifying with, that which we've been unconsciously saying, I am too. and make peace with them by doing the subconscious mind work and committing to the journey and staying committed to the journey, what we notice is that people show up. They say, how did you do it? How did you overcome? They know. Their intuition guides them to us. And for example, when I was getting into the later stages of my IT business, when there was no longer a desire to do it, I was actually getting more people asking me to help them with the business building stuff because they had recognized that I had overcome to a certain degree certain challenges when it comes to productivity, leadership, sales, marketing from building my business. And that translated over to consulting. And I noticed this continues to happen. So in grand summary, as we go through this journey, we learn how to make peace with aspects within ourselves, and others show up ready to receive that wisdom. And that becomes our service to others, which could play itself out in many different ways. People become mentors, they become consultants, they become teachers, they become leaders, they become the mentors, the allies on another person's journey to helping them make peace with these thinking patterns, befriending these aspects within themselves, as we have also experienced in our own life. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's go ahead and conclude this to further encourage a flow-based journey to the destination. You could say, I realize my acceptance of the call to adventure because I realize it is the process for becoming who I truly want to be. Through the understanding and the expression of the great work, as I reconcile certain thinking patterns, beliefs within myself, I reveal the rewards as the life experiences in which I share with others from my reference experience as the magical elixir. Everywhere I go, people show up ready to receive. I accept myself as the source of wisdom and allow that to express, knowing that all my experiences in my life, all my reference experiences, and everything that I've grown to understand about myself is what inspires others to also experience their rewards of life, to reveal their magical elixirs, in which they share with others how they reconciled certain thinking patterns, beliefs within themselves in regards to fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, fear of ill health, fear of death, seeing them for how they truly are, which is opportunities to make peace within ourselves and express accordingly as the great work. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.